Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the Box Office Buds. My name is Tony Squares. I'll introduce the two other idiot hosts in a second, but I just want to bring this right to the audience, straight to you guys. You guys know, if you've been listening to the show in the past, that I won last season's Fantasy Movie League, and you know how much it would mean to me to win this season's Fantasy Movie League. Well, folks, I had Lilo and Stitch. It's almost at $1 billion. I had How to Train Your Dragon last week, and these two idiots thought it wouldn't even touch $350 million. Come on in, guys. We're already at almost $200 million worldwide opening weekend. What say you, you absolute morons? I'm winning this league again.
Well, I think you got a big. Who cares?
I think you got a big drop off coming with Elio coming this weekend. Personally,
I don't know. Last week, someone come on here and said it's not going to make 350. The other guy says it's not going to make 300. 83 million domestically opening weekend, 197 worldwide opening weekend. That's just 3 days, folks. That's 3 days, and we're at 200 million.
It's doing great. I think you should wait to gloat until after it's made 300 million. But I guess you can open the show however you want.
Yeah, that's a fair recommendation, but I would say it's I'll admit when I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I was wrong.
Thank you.
It was wrong.
You.
It's doing well.
Dragon
although,
is doing quite well.
It would do well in the first weekend.
You did guess it would do well in the first weekend.
Good for you, Kellerman. I am plummeting in the standings there, but I was deeply surprised to see it flourish in this capacity. And I am still unhappy for you.
Thank you so
I'm not
much.
Excited about it at all.
By far the biggest weekend for any How to Train Your Dragon movie in any part of the franchise. I went and saw the movie. We'll have a spoiler-free review in a second, even though I don't really know if you can spoil a movie that came out 15 years ago and they didn't change a single thing of it. But I will say, I did send you guys an article. I sent it to the group chat. And if this is the first time you're watching this show, the three of us and a few other of our friends are in a fantasy movie league. We each draft 5 movies. Whoever makes the most money in the worldwide box office that calendar year wins the league. Again, How to Train Your Dragon is my third movie of the year. We don't count King of Kings. How to Train Your Dragon is my third movie of the year. And I sent you guys a little article. Traditionally, in the past 3 How to Train Your Dragon movies, the movie, based on its global reach and how much people watch this internationally, by the end of its theatrical run, it does 11 times its domestic opening. It's happened 3 times in a row. And now we have a domestic opening of $83 million for the live-action remake. If that does 11 times, we're looking at another almost $1 billion movie for your boy, Tony. So again, just wanted to put a cap on that. Very happy this Monday, June the 16th.
Good for you.
You think it's going to 11x from here?
The past 3 have. I don't believe. Do you believe in miracles? Do you believe in miracles?
I think it's going to be a very big challenge for it to 11x with the summer box office season upon us. We got Elio next, which I don't think is going to do gangbusters, but it certainly will take a chunk of wind out of your sails, so to speak. And then the heavy hitters are upon us in Superman, Fantastic Four, F1, and the like. So
I don't know if F1 is going to eat into the How to Train Your Dragons market.
Dude, the crossover's wild. I've been seeing it all over the Reddit threads.
I will say it is quite a big summer. We've talked about the summer ahead of us. This week, the episodes we'll be talking about, we do have an Elio episode talking about Pixar, a very interesting movie, a very interesting story, but will it do well? We don't know. We do have, I believe Ben Rosen has that movie in our box office, and then a movie I've been excited about since I heard it was coming out 28 years later. That will be an episode. We have a fun guest coming on to talk about that. Very excited for that discussion because I think one of us is not as excited for that movie as the other ones are. So we might have a little bit of a debate on our hands. But to wrap up the How to Train Your Dragon weekend material, this also came out, nobody cares. The standings for our current box office movie league, Dangles is leading the way with $1.25 billion. He also has 28 Years Later coming out this week.
Shout out to Dangles.
Captain America, Sinners, Mission Impossible, all of them around 400 to 500 million, with Mission Impossible still rolling in the dough. And then he has 28 Years Later. We'll talk about what 28 Years Later can do. But man, he drafted a bunch of like B-plus players. There's no billion-dollar franchise, but it's Not a single bad pick of the bunch so far. We got to throw some props to Dangles right now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Good
He's
for
in the
him, for
lead.
sure. I mean, he's certainly got the best movies of the bunch. I enjoy his like crop the most. But he's kind of like, if Tony right now is the Dodgers, Dangles is kind of like, the Oakland A's, just a ragtag group of folks, really just like putting things together, doing a good job playing Moneyball, but it's not going to get you the cake. You know what I mean?
I don't get any of these baseball references, but
Sorry.
Nor should you.
I can give you
happy
another
with the
reference.
Dangles.
Would you like another reference? I'll give you another one.
Sure, give us
It's like he's
Tony is like the Glenn Powell, and Dangles is like the Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke just puts out movies that no one really cares about, but they're good. They're good, solid movies. And Dangles just hits singles. Dangles gets up there, hits singles, hits doubles. I'm over there trying to swing for the fences. But hey, that's what happens.
I mean,
when
he's
you
in
make
the
House of
lead.
Dragon. He is.
never
He's
want
in the
to
lead.
never want to compare you to Glenn Powell.
How many
Again, but
is
keep
this
going.
his last movie? 28 years? Is that his last movie coming out?
It is his fourth movie. We will go through
Okay, he
Dangles'
still has
full
another
slate.
one.
We will go through Dangles' full slate in the 28 Years Later episode. We will go through Ben Rosen's full slate when it comes to the Elio episode, because it's now getting to the point where a lot of us, except for Henry, have had movies come out already and only have a few movies remaining. So this league is really starting to take shape. So I'm going to start pitting some of these movies against other movies that have already come out, especially when it comes to how much we paid for these movies during our auction draft. But that's in future episodes. I got to ask you guys, Alche, I know you have a young child. You're with family. Kellerman, you're just, doing whatever you're doing in Los Angeles. Did either of you find time to see How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action remake?
I did not see How to Train Your Dragon. It is too
Sure didn't.
It's too mature for my nearly 4-year-old. Also, I've seen the movie before in a different
Really? You think
capacity.
it's too mature?
It is too mature.
I'd agree with that. It's definitely, and this one, especially with the live action, it is a scarier movie. I did see
Interesting.
How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake. I saw it as early as I possibly could. Had to throw my support behind this absolute wagon of a movie. And Alche, you were absolutely right when you say you've already seen it. You have. If you've seen the animated version, there is not one single note of difference in the live action version. Some of that is really good, because I gave this review on our socials, but they hit the high notes really hard. Like when they do the first training montage, when he has the wing on the dragon and they learn how to fly and that music score erupts, and the finale, like there's some really, really special movie moments. However, when we talked about how the same director, the same creator, created Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon, yet the creator's in charge of How to Train Your Dragon, and they handed off Lilo and Stitch to the guy who made Marcel the shell with the shoes on, because it's hard to explain, but the genre change does affect the movie. They tried to recreate some shots directly from the animated flick and How to Train Your Dragon, and some of them just don't work in the cinema landscape. I'm not joking when I say I think we were in close-up 90% of the movie, and I was really annoyed by the fact, because I wanted to see the world that they built. They're on real sets. They're doing real things, and yet a lot of it was just a shot-for-shot recreation of what we already got. Works at times, doesn't work at other times. And as you guys have heard over the weekend, the How to Train Your Dragon live-action sequel is already in the works. They're already making it. And I knew that as soon as I sat down, because they pulled characters from 2 and 3 and placed them into 1 just haphazardly.
Oh, really?
Just to have a line here or there, just so they exist in the world. So when you get to How to Train Your Dragon 2, it's the same actor, actress you've seen from before. That stuff was jarring to me, because none of it fit the movie whatsoever. Like they're characters coming out of the woodwork during random scenes to have a one-liner, and it's like, who are you again? But they're in How to Train Your Dragon 2 and 3, so get ready. Exactly. Alche's making the money signal right now if you're listening at home, and he's absolutely right. Do you think, Alche, again, your kid's a little bit too young for these movies, but do you think the live-action remakes of these movies, is this something that your kid would get attached to as he gets older if they keep on pumping these guys out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether it's your first interaction with the movie or not, it's a mildly different experience, or you're giving kids already a flavor of nostalgia from 5 years ago, and like that's the world we live in. That is the world we live in now. The attention spans are short. Lengths of time between things need to be short. Remakes will be happening 5 years after they're made. Yeah, this is the world. Familiarity is king, apparently. It's super rare.
When kids are saying that their favorite part of the movie is the nostalgia,
right?
Dude,
that's where we're at in the world, though.
I saw
you're still only 10 years old.
I saw so many like first or second dates when I went to the movie theater for this movie, like kids that were like in their early 20s that were going to the movie, maybe even younger, but I guarantee you they grew up watching the animated version. Now they have a girlfriend in high school or in college and they're both interested to see the live action remake. It was date night at the movie theater for this movie, which is crazy to me. I will say, highly entertaining movie. I do recommend seeing it, not just because I own it in the box office league. It is an entertaining movie because those high notes are really high. I will also say, some of the actors are great. Some of the actors are not in the same movie as the other actors. It's wild how varied some of these performances are. Gerard Butler nails it, hits it out of the park. The main guy, the kid, I forget his name, nails it, hits it out of the park. Some of the other ones, I could, man, there were some cringeworthy moments in this movie. And it's a really interesting watch because of how grab baggy it is. I do recommend it. Any more questions?
Let me ask you this.
Guys?
Yeah. I do have a question. Let me ask you this because they're both still out in theaters. They're both your movies, so you can't really be biased one against one or the other. Lilo and Stitch or How to Train Your Dragon. I have to go see one this weekend. Which do I see?
It's not even a conversation. It's How to Train Your Dragon. Yeah.
Really?
Lilo and Stitch is not a good movie. Like the remake of Lilo and Stitch is not a good movie. I'm so sorry to say this to everyone.
Cheese disagrees.
I have another point to make, actually, because a friend of ours, a friend of the show, his name's Drew Crookston, lives in Michigan, has 2 young boys himself. Him, his wife, and the 2 boys went to see Lilo and Stitch, not knowing that we had it in the league. They're going to see it because they're trying to take the kids to a movie day. And the kids, I believe, are 3 and 4 or 3 and 5, around that age, probably a little bit too young to see Lilo and Stitch, but they're, boys will be boys. Drew said they didn't make 20 minutes before they had to leave. And the wife ended up getting refunds on the tickets because the boys could not sit still for the crappy movie that was playing in front of them. There was no interest in it whatsoever from them. They will be interested in How to Train Your Dragon.
That feels like a parenting problem. Drew, give me a call. I'll help you. I'll walk you through it. I'll help you out. Lilo and Stitch is a highly enjoyable movie. Is it the best movie? No. I imagine How to Train Your Dragon is a better movie for a myriad of reasons. My question to you, Tony, is... in a world where we have Elio coming out and Superman coming out and Fantastic Four coming out, what do you envision the drop-off being of this movie in the weeks to come?
I am interested to see our conversation about Elio and where you guys think this movie will land when it comes to box office. As for other movies past Elio, I don't think there's anyone vying for the crowd that How to Train Your Dragon live action is going to get. Yes, people our age might rather see 28 years later, but I do think there's a demographic that it is fitting that is not being hit by other people. It's that, high schooler going on a first date crowd. Is that enough to sustain it box office wise? I don't think so. I do think there will be quite a drop off, but I don't think it's going to go from 200 mil worldwide to 0. I think this beats 300 next weekend, no problem, and I think we're getting close to 350 next weekend as well. I think it's what's that? Less than 50% of a drop off, and we sort of peter out. And if this lands around 500 worldwide, I'll be extremely happy with the pick, even though I probably won't win the league if that happens. But hey, we did it. It's okay.
Yeah, if it 11x's, that would be shocking. I'll double or nothing that double bourbon on the rocks.
Yeah, what would 11x be? 800 million?
I would say if it goes over 750, that's a real shock with what's coming up. It would be shocking to me.
Yeah, but if you look at the schedule, there's not a lot coming up in that stratosphere. Like, is
That's true.
Smurfs going to take the How to Train Your Dragon crowd? I don't think so. And then we'll talk about
No.
Elio later this week. But before we move
No,
on
but I
to
think
any of
Superman is.
Superman will.
I mean, I just think it's two different worlds. I think Superman skews a little bit older.
No
and How to Train
way.
Your Dragon skews a
Superman
little
is
bit
a
older.
Superman is all ages.
You don't think 10-year-olds are
Superman is all
fucking
ages.
watching Superman? Of course
Yeah,
they
but the
are.
10-year-old has to like.
No
I mean,
question.
every 10-year-old has to go with their guardian to the movie theater.
They're-
I'm talking about like
they're
the-
gonna. They're
Yeah.
gonna go with
Yeah.
their guardian.
and again, that
They
comes
already
out
have
in-
Superman toys.
That comes out in a. When does Superman come out? Not for a while. We're okay. We're okay.
That's true.
Jurassic
Yeah, you
Park
do have
comes
some
out first,
time.
and ain't no
You
one
have-
seeing
you have a
that piece
couple
of shit.
weeks.
So
You don't think anybody's gonna see Jurassic Park? You're out
I
of
just
your
wanted to get.
mind.
I just wanted to get producer TJ mad. He's in the back
You
over
don't
there
think?
trying to not.
I actually think the dragon to dinosaur connection is probably pretty stronger
Yeah,
than the
you might be
dragon
right.
to alien
Jurassic
and
World
Superman
might be the
connection.
thing
yeah.
that dethrones it.
Let me
It
tell you
might.
one thing that I will stand 10 toes down on. The dragons in How to Train Your Dragon look better than the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park Rebirth or whatever the heck it's
How
called.
do
I will-
you know you haven't seen the film?
Yeah, not to
how
mention the
many-
fact that aren't the dragons in How to Train Your Dragon a little more cartoony?
Only the main one. That's another weird part. They made the other dragons extremely like not lifelike, 'cause they're made up
Hyper-realistic?
things. But there are some dragons in there that look like, especially the final dragon. That thing looks like a monster you'd see in Game of Thrones. Like it's
Really?
super. Yeah, and it looks really effing cool. And then Toothless is very much a cartoon.
Right.
But yeah, and I've seen plenty of the trailers of Jurassic Park Rebirth, whatever it's called. That I've seen enough of those dragons. They look like a pile
On
of
your
crap that was put
phone,
together
on your
haphazardly.
computer, you're
At the
watching it in
movie theater.
IMAX. What? Yeah.
We've been to these movies together, Alche. Come on, we've seen these. Let's
Okay.
move on though. It's time to move on. We're gonna move the pace forward here. How to Train Your Dragon came out, huge success. Tony's doing a victory lap once again. But we have two big movies coming out this weekend. 28 years later, and Elio. Before we move on to the future episodes and we start guessing over-unders, we start breaking down the movies, we do have a guest for 28 years later. It's going to be quite the week for the box office buds. TJ has a trivia question for us. I stink at these, and so I'm hoping to get back on the winning trail with this trivia question. TJ, take it away, my friend. What are we talking about?
We have a question that will lead us right into our 28 years later discussion. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Which Danny Boyle directed film performed the worst at the worldwide box office? And we're going to start with A, the original Trainspotting, B, The Beach, C, Trainspotting 2, D, Steve Jobs, or E, 127 Hours. One more time. Which Danny Boyle film performed the worst at the worldwide box office? A, Trainspotting, B, The Beach, C, Trainspotting 2, D, Steve Jobs, or E, 127 Hours.
I was just talking about 127 hours with my brother-in-law earlier today. His daughter goes to school with the daughter of the guy who cut off his arm, so it couldn't possibly be 127 hours. I'm going to say Trainspotting 2.
Some weird logic.
We're having fun. It's the first episode of the week.
A equals B equals Trainspotting 2.
Yeah, Trainspotting 2 is my answer.
See,
can't
I'm gonna
have it.
go. I'm gonna go with Trainspotting 1 because I mean it's the movie that entered him into the stratosphere of directors and writers and creators, but I think it's more of a cult classic than it did well at the box office because when we talk about 28 days later and years later, they did not do well at the box office. They found life after it came out of theaters. So yeah, I'll go with Trainspotting 1.
Okay, well, believe it or not, Trainspotting has a wide international reach and did in fact make over $70 million worldwide. So it is not the answer. However, none of you got it correct. We're going to the Apple origin story. Steve Jobs
Really?
with $34 million.
Aaron
I love that
Sorkin
movie.
written, Danny Boyle directed, Steve Jobs made the least out of all of those movies?
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I love that movie. That movie is very good and did not get the love it deserved.
I watch that movie once a year. I agree. I think it's
so good, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Once a
it's so
year?
good.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fassbender.
I watch it semi-regularly.
I love it
Hey.
as well.
Love fast.
Very,
Thank
very
you.
rewatchable.
Yes.
Well, that is
The only
it.
thing, the only thing that's really rough, I just have to say, look, I love Kate Winslet. That accent is atrocious.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Box Office Buds, and only here can you get, 10-year-old references to movies making fun of accents that people had in it. But that's what we do on the Box Office Buds. Tomorrow, we're reaching even farther back into the stratosphere to talk about 28 years later and days later, and maybe even weeks later if Calvin wants to argue for that piece of crap.
The best one
And
of
then
the bunch.
And then the next week, the next day, we're talking about Elio, a Pixar returning to original IP. Can it meet the stratosphere that Inside Out 2 hit last year? Spoiler warning, no. But we will figure that out. Start tomorrow.